redrawing of the lines from what they had been after we consolidated down the different volunteer fire departments, putting, say, Toby Black's Family Department, putting that whole district maybe where it best is served, and, tearing down 13 districts or whatever they are down to 7 or 8.
We made a heck of a headway when they went out and done the 5-mile radius off of that new program that we got. They made a heck of a headway with that, and then at that point, that's when everything quit. And it just blew my mind that we couldn't get any cooperation from the fire chiefs, for the majority of them anyway.
And Miss Sally, the fire one is just the assessment in the unincorporated areas, because the cities provide fire service for their citizens.
Now they ask for it.
I realize there's been
Here we are, a year later, and we ain't got nothing.
a lot of discussion.
I mean,
At one point, we had an assessment several years ago, a one-time assessment, and then they have this regular assessment.
Yeah, got a motion and a second.
All in favor?
All in favor? Opposed? Resolution 2016-053 is passed. Next one, request approval of resolution 2016-052, annual rate for EMS assessment tax. Mr. Moody?
Okay, this resolution is, as mentioned, resolution number 2016-052. Resolution of Levy County, Florida, relating to the provision of emergency medical services, facilities, and programs within Levy County, Florida, levying EMS tax assessments against benefited property located within Levy County pursuant to section 125.271 Florida statutes, to fund the provision of emergency medical services for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2016, approving the rate of the EMS tax assessment, approving the EMS tax assessment roll, and providing an effective date. The residential rate per dwelling on this one is $119 per unit. Commercial rate per square foot is 7 cents per commercial, 19 cents for institutional, and 1 cent for industrial warehouse. And this is the one that is countywide.
Any comment?
And with this, we have been fortunate today to now have 7 units on the road, and I think a couple of new stations established out of that budget. So it is been flagged.
Do we have any comments from the public? From the board members?
Have we gotten any calls in the office about that one?
None of them this week.
Absolutely none. I asked the girls and they said they had no calls.
Actually, we have had, we in our office has had very few calls even on ad valorem and non-ad valorem. So, we didn't have any discussion really when we done the preliminary of this. So, I think on EMS, you can't have enough of it for such a large rural area as we have. So I think, these are just annual amounts. But for the services you get for them, especially if you need them, but it's just the fact of having them there. And all of that, one of Chief Harold's main things is going to be recruitment, because we've certainly got to have some medics to continue to have the ALS vehicles on the road. We know that Mr. Severance retired, Mr. Foran is near retirement. He was imminent because he just got turned it into us. Paul Shear, English is in the drop program, and he's two and a half years into the drop program, and he was about to escalate it up, and I asked him to, meet with Chief Harold and talk to him, and he's had some other, it wasn't anything to do entirely with the service, he's had some other issues that he wanted to deal with too, but he's going, no one very short medics to a point, he has decided to stay on, but then we still have, shoot, Kathy Wilson, we got a few more that's near retirement, so
Yeah,
we got to bring some young ones along. Sure.
Yeah, I think she's going out on the road.
Well, I think we got one of these, my comment is,
March is 2 weeks.
Yeah, David Florence, I forgot, yeah. He is asked to be allowed to continue, you know, on our part-time list, which we do have a good part-time list. But the thing with that, it's competitive, because about the time you need them, they might be a full-time one in Marion County or Alachua County or Gilchrist or whatever. I think, see, David has been working the ER too, a lot at North Florida. And that's what is going on in the medic world anyhow. They say there's a lot of paramedics now going either to flight stat if they can get there. There's not that much room there, you know, but then the next thing is the ER. And that's the next level above paramedic, so.
So they're just doing career advancement.
Really? Well,
So
yeah,
you can't blame them.
he can't blame a man for bettering himself.
No, not at all, never.
well, I think we have one of the best EMS units, not units, but systems going in this staff, in this county, but the county decided. And I certainly would hate to take a step backwards, because if we do, it's gonna take 4 steps to catch back up where we need to be. That's just mine. I think we have a wonderful EMS here staff. And I can't vote, but that's my comment.
You do vote. Jeremy votes.
Just can't make a motion.
You just can't make a motion.
I can't make a move.
Can't make a motion.
And you can't settle for them.
Right.
Unless you pass together, but you can't, don't have that opportunity tonight.
I can get ready.
You can pass it to the vice chair.
I hear a motion on resolution 2016-052.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2016-052.
Got a motion by Commissioner Meeks, do I hear a second?
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Brooks. All in favor? Opposed? Passed. Express approval of resolution 2016-54, annual rate for solid waste assessment.
Okay, before you is, resolution number 2016-054, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Levy County, Florida, relating to the provision of closure, long-term care, monitoring, and associated services, facilities, and programs for county landfills in Levy County, Florida, reimposing solid waste assessments against accessible property located within Levy County for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2016, approving the rate of assessment, approving the assessment roll, and providing an effective date. And this too remains the same as it has for many years, for quite a few years, of $25.
And it actually came down from, 37. Whenever we had to redo the assessment program and how you do the different figures.
Correct.
So we lowered tax.
Any comments from the public? Comments from the board?
Yes, I do have one comment. I got one, I'll say one. I got one question. And this may be not a question that y'all can answer, but do we technically only have one landfill site in the county?
We do where people take it to, but we still have your.
We have,
waste landfills that you have to monitor for 30 years after the closures.
Right. Right. How many of those we have?
left, I don't know how many we have left, we got one or two that's supposed to be coming off soon. But I can get you a comprehensive list. We did ask, Mr. Gerald's to actually kind of map out where all of the old landfill sites are in the county, and he done a good job on that.
I was just curious as to how many we had. We do say that the monitoring of,
Right,
I was wondering how many were monitored.
I couldn't, I
We
don't
have
know.
that plus the one out there, the landfill itself, that they monitor each cell that's out there.
Right, I know they got those out there, but as far as old condemned, we don't,
But I don't know which ones that DEP still, follows up on, whether, you know, the one on the Campus A Road or the one on
Right.
121.
and I guess the thing that where I was going with that is, I know we use like, a little piece of property down in English to burn on, but could we use the one at Campus A to keep from bringing all them limbs back to Brunson? Could we use that site? I guess that's a question I need to ask another time.
Well, that's a very good point, and,
Yeah, I mean, we're
we
going
need to find out
345.
if it could be an active debris site, you know, or not.
Right,
But that's a good point for the listeners that they're hauling this.
And if we wanna sit there and burn them like we're doing out here at landfill in Bronson, we certainly don't wanna dig into those old cells out there.
well, I mean, if there's a, with the whole, I guess that's just a question we can ask another time, you know, so.
Well, if you're trying to do something, you know, Grubbs was even checking to see if we had any place that they could dump so that they could expedite the cleanup of Cedar Key, as opposed to the time that's lost coming all the way to our landfill and then back to Cedar Key. In other words, stage it somewhere
Right.
just to get the island clean.
And then they come back
and
and pick it
then
up.
go back and then carry it on to the landfill.
Right.
So that's a good point, so it's something to check on. Look into it.
Any more comments from the board? Ms. Allen, you have,
I was gonna say, are you talking about burning clean debris like limbs and trees
Yes, yes.
and not all the household drywall?
No,
They're not allowed.
we ain't allowed to burn that
Right,
stuff.
you're not.
Right.
So the staging area, it would be a staging area, considered a temporary area.
Right.
out there. I think they do that all the time with disasters.
Right.
Within
The
neighborhoods.
county had to, get an incinerator just to burn, limbs and things like that.
Right.
And we wanted to try to cut down on shredding cost and all that stuff, so different departments, and we had to get a special okay from DEP to even burn treasures. So, and, you know, it's highly regulated.
Without that.
So it definitely.
But you can go to your house and burn all the paper you want to. I said, but you can go to your house and burn all the paper you want to, it's figured out.
Well, they have a lot of rules about it. I do shred my paper and burn it in a burn barrel, but you're not allowed to put it in a fire pit. And I haven't, actually it's only 6x6, but it's within the 8x8 fire pit size that you can have so many feet from other houses and so forth, for limbs and yard waste. And of course, I'll be 2 years when I get rid of stuff from my 6 trees. But,
Larry?
your neighbors can turn you in if they think you're burning other material, hoses or tires and I know people that burn furniture, et cetera, in their backyard back there. There's a whole big list of fire regulations for residential, but it's easier than it is trying to do the shredded paper here. It's ridiculous, really, when you consider shredded paper.
Have your motion to pass resolution 2016-054.
Make the motion.
Second, oh, I'm sorry, I can't second. I hear a second?
I'm gonna second for discussion.
Okay,
All right.
This is the one that I don't really care for that much.
It's probably the one that's most misinformed about, Miss Lily, the $25, because I know we always on assessments, we get questions sometimes about why do I have to pay a
Oh, I'm
ambulance.
sorry, I'm on the wrong one.
Oh, okay, alright, I know where you're at.
So I got a second without a discussion.
Without discussion.
Thank you. Got, got my thoughts
all
going
in
on.
favor?
I got a motion from Commissioner Mickey, a second from Commissioner Rooks, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Reassessment approval of resolution 2016-055, annual rate for roadway maintenance service assessment.
Okay, this is the last one for this evening, and it's, resolution number 2016-055, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Levy County, Florida, relating to the provision of roadway maintenance services on subdivision roads, approving the roadway maintenance service assessment role, providing for the reimposition of the roadway maintenance service assessments, providing for collection of the assessments pursuant to the Uniform Assessment Collection Act, and providing severability and an effective date. And this has got a host of subdivisions within Levy County, that are in the MSBU's for road maintenance in their subdivisions, and, these are all, the methodology is based on the cost that the road department, has come up with for each of those subdivisions, including the number of mileage, the amount of mileage and all of that in here, and the number of parcels or units in those subdivisions.
Public comment? Comment from the board?
Some of these I've never heard of. Some of these are paved roads, correct, Fred?
Sir?
Some of these are paved roads.
Yes, sir.
Might not be the right place or time, but you'd have been with those guys during the storm. They solid work and they put in some hours. You never heard them whine or complain. And Miss Freddie, Miss Webber, I can tell you right now, I'm proud of them.
Me too.
Maybe you shake your head, Miss Sally, you had a problem with them?
I am still having problems with them, but not on my street. They've been staying off my street. Thank heavens. And my street doesn't have a problem, but all the others do. They still have not leveled, they're grading the road below the berm. Sometimes it's as much as a foot below the berm. And the lime rock roads out there will not drain off, and so then it creates gutters. You talked about 115th in the commission meeting. We have holes all over the road. It happens every time it rains. I had 7 inches one day and 3 inches the next out there, which isn't much for us. It usually goes right into the ground. If it can clear the road, the berm next to my house is level with the road, and the water drains right off into the berm. Somebody said to me the other day, I don't call it a berm, it's a ditch. In the old fashioned, and that was the way they had to be. They had to have a certain level that the water could drain down into when I moved out there. And you had to maintain it at that so that it came off the road and the water had some place to go. But all out there now on 16th and 21st. They graded those roads down and graded them down and graded them down, and now the berm is up above it, and there's no way for it to drain off. And it creates more problems with the road.
Mr. Wilbur, you take care of that, please, sir?
Duly noted.
But this is for, the ones that it, applies to, it's for lemon, mowing, and grading in some cases if they're not the street on grading. But it's one or all of those three things.
And we mow most of everybody out there mows their own property on the ground. Because, and I've spoken to the men out there a number of occasions, and they've told me that the mowers have the entire county. And sometimes they're down for a day or two, and they have a lot to mow in this county. But it's not the mowing that's the problem as much as it is mowing can be increased and better because we have a lot of vacant lots out there, or lots that are not lived on. But that would not stop the water from coming off the road. And originally it used to.
Yeah, we get calls from some residents that they don't want our mowers to mow in front of their places, cause they mow out to the right of way, and they don't want the sand spurs that get on the tires and get slung off there in their property and different things. We had actually one subdivision, I think it was in Enchanted Forest, that we removed them from the, program because of that. There's probably 13 or more places in there, but they mow all the way out to the street. They do their own women, and it's paved streets, so, we removed them because we just don't go in there.
Well, I have heard, there are people that have bees out there. Don't want the water drainage from the road, which is Lime Rock Road, all over out there. I don't know what they're gonna do when they finally get 114 paved. After the last 10 years of promises to the Evanses of all people. Those people will have more chemicals coming off the road and into the berm area when it rains, when it's paved, than they will as it is with the lime rock. And the people out there have horses and carriages, and the horses leave debris all over the road, and it washes into the road and into the ground as it is now. I know people out there that have bees. They do not want the berm or contaminated because they put wildflowers out there, and the bees, I don't mow until June because I have wild plants where the bees congregate. But I'm not so fussy as to say that I don't mow out to the road, because to me, keeping the road safe is more important. And that berm actually belongs to the county. It does not belong to me or to any other landowner out there. And when we moved out there, you couldn't move a mobile home on, or any building material onto the property without first putting in a drive entrance of a certain structure with, if it called for it, what do they call those? The metal culverts that go under the driveway. I happened to be on the lower side of the road, and I didn't need a culvert in there, and they approved that for me. But my drive had to be of a certain structure, a certain width. All of that had to be, that was the permit that you had to have out there at that time. And it was explained, you go put your fence up, and you put it on your property, and your property line begins here, and they had them all staked out. And these people, even though they've come in afterwards, they should know better. They just have claimed that property as theirs. And that's keeping us from having the roads drained off properly.
Well, Mr. Wilbur, you heard
Yes, sir.
We'll get back to the request. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve resolution 2016-055.
I'll second for discussion.
And Miss Lily is on the cuff.
This is the one that people ask me. I pay gas tax when I purchase gas, and it comes to the county to take care of the roads. Why am I being assessed this for the same reason? I don't have an answer for that.
Zanny, you got respond? But I mean, I guess that's the way.
Gas tax covers what it covers, and it wouldn't cover this in addition. It's another mechanism to have people that aren't paying the ad valorem to cover that, but you're now subsidizing your gas tax, your road department with ad valorem also. And these services wouldn't be available if they weren't paid.
But is any of this done through the origination of the subdivision by the developer or something?
Well,
I think when they, yes, when they come in to start a subdivision,
Right.
it'll go into this system, so that you aren't trying to cover mowing and trimming for the whole county with gas tax. You wouldn't have any other money, you wouldn't have any other thing to spend it on. It's
A lot of
just
these
another
aren't even
funding source.
paid.
It's
No,
not
paid.
for paving, it's for mowing and trimming.
I said they're not paid, a lot of these aren't.
And the assessment isn't for that kind of maintenance, it's for mowing and trimming.
And these are not addressed every year. No, they'll pick a year and they'll, like this year. These are like, last year they may have done it and broken down on the amount of work that was done in that subdivision, but they don't do it every year.
the work,
Yes, the methodology, the,
They don't go back and look at it.
They don't recalculate every year.
Yeah,
And if you wanted to do that, which you certainly can, we would need to retain GST every year to review and recalculate the amount. It would be a new study basically every year, if you wanted to do that. Now, we might have staff that can do that at this point, but I don't know if they
I
can.
think we're set up pretty good now that they can, monitor the cost better than what we could in earlier years. I know Mr. Allen has a pretty good program there. And if everything is turned in, like if they go, to Whispering Oaks Unit 2, and they go in there and do a lot of maintenance with new rock and stuff like that, then that year's gonna cost more naturally than it does the next few years.
I think when they look at it, they take an average, they don't pick just one
1
year,
year.
they pick an average, spread it out. But if staff is getting sophisticated enough that they can do their own study, start looking at that, but I would want GSG involved in helping them know that their study is defensible.
And we can have, I do know that they, when they do the annual, they asked us, are there any subdivisions, new ones to be added, or any to come off, and that kind of thing.
well, and that's where I gotta ask this question. If I buy a section and I'm gonna break it up into a subdivision, and the county to maintain the roads in the subdivision at zero cost, then everybody else in the county is gonna pay that road in Rock subdivision maintained at zero cost.
A lot of times the county would say,
If everybody in the subdivision pays this, then the cost is covered. That's what I thought, I mean, that's kinda how I thought these came about, was because the subdivision was set aside and then the county maintains the roads. Therefore, like out on 337, where those subdivisions are set up, and the county don't maintain the roads, I have conversations quite a bit as to why in the world can't the county come fix these roads?
So which ones you talking about?
Diversified,
Oh,
diversified that's on both sides of the road.
I know they're not, I know that they're not,
Yeah,
but
they're
it's a
heavy.
whole nother ballgame.
Yeah, they're heavily populated, but they've never been dedicated to the county. The developer never did turn them over to the county.
right,
But like you're saying, if you go to develop, say, a 20-acre thing, usually the county would say, you build them to the county specs, and you maintain them for the first 5 years or something, and then the county would take them over. That might be one thing. A good example is Forest Park Unit 2. See, those roads are maintained by the Forest Park homeowner group, but now they're starting, several times they have come to the board and wanted the board to take over those roads, but whenever we give them and the cost of looking into that sometime and getting the projected cost is kind of expensive, but they'd say, cause it's gotta be 100%, and that's what's wrong at at Diversified. You got so many absentee owners out there that won't sign off on it because they don't care, they never seen the land.
and they don't wanna pay the money to have the road.
Right, so
But
that's
they-
the problem
they-
there.
Yeah.
But Forest Park comes every so often because they were paying Jimmy Gerald's to take care of it, they was paying Bruce to go out there on weekends and run a road grader, they hire to maintain their own roads.
Right.
And then they get a family, they get neighborly squabbling, and they'll say, well, let's just turn them over to the county.
Right.
We say you can, but there's gonna be a cost for that.
And keep in mind that a lot of these roads in these subdivisions, the cost that the people are paying doesn't even cover the cost of the fuel. So, I mean,
I've never said anything about it.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to give just a little bit of history, that because this board has asked for quite a few years to come up with a real cost on this, because due to the shortfalls on revenue coming into the road department off the fuel tax, I mean, it's taken away and you're not recouping your cost to maintain it. You're going in the hole every year by doing that.
Well, to keep it affordable, I think that we just tried to, the last time that we done this, and it wasn't that long ago that we looked at each one of them, or the road department did. And there was some adjustments made there, and that was the first year they was raised, and we did get some feedback, because it increased them from last year to this year, and it was pretty significant in some parts. So we cut out some of the costs that could have been added to that methodology, like depreciation of your equipment. Not just the cost of the fuel and the operator's time, but just getting it out there, the equipment out there to do it, and then, so. But I can understand, Miss Lily, exactly what you're saying, because I would feel the same way too, You pay the gas tax, and you understand that gas tax pays for road maintenance, and but here they're having to pay more. Yes, sir.
We had a motion by Commissioner Meeks and a second, good discussion by Commissioner Rook. We to discussion. All in favor? All opposed? Got 2 ayes and 1 no, and I ain't got to say nothing.
Actually, yes, you do.
Is there anything else to be brought before this board tonight, before we adjourn?
Would you vote?
Ma'am?
Would you vote?
Do I vote?
Yes, sir.
Just in there.
You need to,
I do.
yes,
I'm aye.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Robert rules say that. you
Y'all
don't
will
leave
be,
it considered
here
denied.
again next Monday night at 6 o'clock, which is the 19th. That is your final millage and your final budget. meeting for adoption. Then the next day, the 20th, will be your regular board meeting at 9 a.m. And then September 30th at 9 o'clock here will be the pay year-end bills. All that we need at that meeting basically is a quorum just to do that, so that you, because it probably won't take
At 9 o'clock.
this one. It won't take very long to pay the bills.
And board members, Mr. Betty, Mr. Wilbur, there's a good chance I will not be here Monday night or Tuesday. I'm not saying I won't, I'm gonna try to be back. But there's a good chance I won't be here Monday night or Tuesday, but I will be back for the September 30th meeting.
Commissioner Meeks would have been here tonight, but he is attending a very important, restore meeting of all places, Martin County, Stewart, Florida. So he just couldn't get here, and since we had no public response to this, I said, I think we can win it, so he said, good.
They're meeting on November the 8th. Is there a meeting?
On what day?
That's election day, you know that.
But they probably will be, if it's the second Tuesday after the first Monday, that's it. But we've had a plan.
Maybe out of town.
You running somewhere else?
No, he's not.
You'll be running somewhere else.
Tell on him this,
Good. He
What?
gone.
Just got permission. I don't know that I will be running.
as long as we just live ahead of time, so we make sure we have a quorum.
Yes.
And I'll be
Are
in
you-
Martin
you
County
sit on
the rest
council
of this
board?
week.
I have been, but she said it was.
Well, you probably won't, I don't know how to do it.
You'll have to get your assistance, so.
You'll probably just finish out the year, cause y'all won't really be chairman until January.
Yeah, that's right. So you,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking. I see where you're going now. I got you.
What you're doing, you're putting off on her, she got time to tell you that.
Right. But she'll be the chairman, so she'll be on the council. Yes.
And Mr. Chair, you done good.
Yeah.
You just a guy, whatever you wanna do.
Is there any other business brought before the board tonight?
Just don't run away, cause I've got the resolutions for you to sign.
Oh, you get the sign too.
We are adjourned.
Miss Shannon's ready to go.